Okay, we got why do multiplayer games suck now? Let me see.
Why do multiplayer games suck now? Or did they always suck? Or am I the
No.
problem? Well, I actually
Oh
think that
shit,
it's
I
a
might be the
mixture
problem.
of all of those reasons. It's not that multiplayer games are rammed with microtransactions or that single player games are superior. Everything has a part in this feeling for many of us. When I was younger, I would play for hours on end, mainly playing online. Sure, I
Yeah,
loved my
same. Um, Whenever I was younger, I don't know exactly how many hours I sunk into Call of Duty and Halo Online, but for sure it has to be like in the thousands at least. And I'm not even gonna get started talking about World of Warcraft. Like again, thousands of hours.
single player titles like Skyrim, Simpsons Hit and Run, and
Hmm.
Assassin's Creed 2. But I would spend tons of hours playing GTA 4's Online, GTA 5, Halo 3, Black Ops 2,
Yeah,
Minecraft, CSGO, and two of the biggest game addictions I ever had were to Destiny and GTA roleplay. I could tell
nice.
during the last 3 years of actively playing online games that I truly wasn't enjoying them. So was it
Oh
simply that I
shit.
was getting older? Was it that my friends stopped playing these games? Was it that I would become too wrapped up
Honestly, I think it's a little bit of everything you're talking about, dude. It's a little bit of everything. Like, yeah. I mean, the amount of friends that I have, like when I was little, playing video games felt really cool because we would all go over somebody's house. Like, we would all go over to like my buddy Kyle's house and play Super Smash Brothers. We would go to my buddy Julian's house to play what was it? Like the Resident Evil like Mercenaries mode. We go to Kyle's house to play like Dead or Alive or Rock Band or Guitar Hero, DDR. Yeah. I mean, because a lot of like back in the day, like multiplayer games were more or less like couch co-op type. Well, not couch co-op, but like you needed another person to be in the same room with you to experience the multiplayer aspect, or at least when I was a kid. Like, I mean, granted, there were still like some online games like Counter Strike and like World of Warcraft and all these other things, but I don't think it was as prevalent as it is today. I think back in the day, more people experienced multiplayer games when somebody else was in the same room with them.
in the games themselves, or maybe it's because the gaming industry has shifted. Today I wanted to go through all of those areas, not just telling you about how when I was younger games were way better, but what my main takeaways are from looking into this, and on top of that, how we can start enjoying multiplayer games again. So let's sit down, grab a cup of tea, and let's
Mm-hmm.
discuss why multiplayer games seem to suck now.
Seem
Just
keyword
before we actually jump into this
perception of sucking, not actually sucking, but there's the perception.
video, if you want to join a community of like-minded people, then make sure to come join the Exiled Ones Discord. And if you enjoy watching video essay content like this about games and gaming topics, then make sure to hit the subscribe button, and whilst you're down there, the like button would be absolutely lovely. Lastly though, if you do want to support the channel any further, make sure to go check out the Patreon. You get early access to videos like these, behind the scenes of how I go about making the videos, and you can give me your thoughts on future content. Now though, let's jump into the issues that you probably face if you're watching this video.
All right.
Let's begin back at the first major online gaming addiction that I had, which was Club Penguin. I know, Club Penguin,
Really?
absolutely a meme of a game.
I never
However, when
played
I was
Club
younger,
Penguin,
I would
dude.
play it all the time. It was one of the first times that I experienced the online gaming world, and it was definitely addictive for the young kid that I was. I remember doing all of the martial arts stuff in that game and getting so addicted to like the secret agent side of the game that I would begin to just see the game in my head when I would close my eyes when being dropped off at school.
Dang. You know a game is good when you're thinking about playing the game when you're not playing the game, dude.
I really enjoyed playing the game, but eventually I would start to grow up slowly and move on to the likes of the
Yeah.
blocky world of Minecraft. I
Yeah.
had this massive Samsung
I just never got into Minecraft. I don't know why. I just never got into it.
laptop that I was playing the older versions of the game on. I'm not sure exactly which versions of Minecraft I was playing, but I know that it was before the release of the game. I think it was around, I would say, 2009, 2010, but it was before the game's official release. I would mainly play by myself, and the reason I'm mentioning that is that my main interaction online with many other players wasn't actually online. Most of my co-op time was related with friends sitting next to them, and we would just be playing single-player Minecraft together, and chatting whilst we did it. It was a massively enjoyable experience.
And not just with Minecraft, but with a lot of other like competitive games. Because me and my buddies did play a shit ton of Super Smash, like every version of Super Smash. And we would just be shit talking the whole time. Like, oh, you're gonna use that character. I'm gonna use this character. Oh, you're not gonna use your main. I'm not gonna use my main, because then, whenever you got beat, you could easily just cover yourself and be like, I wasn't on my main. That's why you didn't beat me. And then whenever you beat your buddy that wasn't on his main, it's like, put your main on, bitch.
Which eventually led to us loving the version on the Xbox 360. However, I am jumping ahead of myself slightly. This is where I'd say true gaming addiction started for me. When I got a hold of the 360, I found myself playing more than I had ever done in the past. First game that me and my friends got massively into was Halo 3, and eventually the likes of GTA 4. We would go around trying to get the Sultan RS in that really back alley location so that we could drift around the Liberty City airport, and we'd end up being stuck on the same level for absolutely ages on Halo 3. Minecraft and Black Ops 2 were then the next two games that I would say we absolutely loved. The only time I've ever hit Prestige Master was within Black Ops 2. That game had me aiming for diamond camo in every single section. Sadly, though, I've never
did I ever hit Prestige Master? I don't remember. That's like when you go like 1 to 100 like 10 times. Oh my god. And then on like the 10th time, when you're like hit at that level, that's when you start the grind for like all the max camos for the guns. I think. I think I did. I don't remember. Maybe I did. I do remember sinking a shitload of time into this game though.
Had the same love for any of the Call of Duties since. When we would play online for Call of Duty, I'd spend so much of my time either in two maps, either in town so that I could try and get as high around as possible, or Mob of the Dead, because I honestly just think the map is superb. Minecraft, however, on the 360 is quite literally the best time to play. Instead of jumping into the servers that were already crafted for you that you could play all of these different game modes on, you just jumped into each other's worlds and had a good time. Something about playing Minecraft at that point was incredibly special. Or maybe it was just nostalgia. However, I absolutely loved that point of time.
I mean, honestly, there's nothing wrong with nostalgia and hanging on to that, like, remember back in the day type of deal. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as long as you enjoyed your time with it and you realize that that's all it ever was, it will never be anything more than that, than just like a good time. Then, and you don't regret it, I mean, then it's like, okay, it's fine. But it comes, if you like look back and think about like some of the games you played and you're like, oh shit, I kind of regret that. That's when it's like, start to feel bad about like certain games.
Some of the least aesthetically pleasing houses, but simply put, it was simple and fun. Even though I've mentioned the word addiction multiple times in this video, I'm going to actually make a video in the future about gaming addiction. So yeah, if you do feel like you have that or struggle with it in any way, then please send me a message on Discord, because I'd
maybe, I don't think I was like truly addicted to video games. I was more or less like functionally addicted to video games. Like, I wasn't at that point where it was like ruining my life. Well, maybe I was kinda, but I was still able to like go to school, you know, do the chores. And when I was little, like I didn't have a job, so I mean, it's whatever. But I was like right at that point, like one more notch over, and I would have been like addicted.
love to get some thoughts. But when it comes to it, my actual like big addiction for the first time since Club Penguin was when Destiny came out. Between the years of 2014 and 2017, my life was Destiny. When I say addiction, I genuinely mean it. Me and my friends would live and breathe this game. From playing on average 6 hours every single day during that entire time frame. And that isn't me being hyperbolic. We found out by basing it off of the hours played that on average we played 6 hours every single day between 2014 when the game released to the end of 2017. The Taken King.
Dang, 6 hours a day every day for 3 years? Bro, that sounds fun. Like, there were probably times in my life where I could like meet those numbers, but it was definitely like when I was a little kid. Or maybe not a little kid, maybe like a young teenager. I was doing that shit to like certain games. But man, that sounds so cool to even have like, cause what is Destiny 1? That's like a what do you need? Like six people total to do the raids and shit? I don't remember. Is it like 5 or 6? I think it was 6. To like do a raid. So just knowing like 5 other people that had the same thought process as you, like they wanted to go hard in Destiny, just like you. I mean, that's a really cool thing to get people together to have like the same goal-oriented mindset that you have. Because I think that's like one issue that multiplayer games have today, is trying to cram people together that have different goals that they want to accomplish in the game. You know, like the easiest comparison is like the casual audience of a multiplayer game and like the competitive audience in a video game. These two audiences, yes, there is like some sort of like overlapping concentric circles, but depending on what game you're talking about, they could either be like this, like almost completely overlap, or like this completely separate, or to some degree there's probably like a little bit in the middle. And whenever you have those players like on the same team in order to like accomplish some goal with whatever mode, there's always going to be like some friction, I'll say, within the players.
For me was one of the best times I've ever had playing online. We moved into an era of CSGO as well, where we would end up sweating out that game and absolutely loving it, to the point where I have about 800 hours on the game altogether. Obviously, not many, but when you consider most of those hours were accumulated over the course of like, I think 2 to 3 years. Quite a bit. But the game that took addiction to another level for me, especially in the online space, was GTA 5. Not the online, but the roleplay.
Really?
It literally became my life. I'll be getting into exactly what I mean by that in a bit, when it comes to different parts of my multiplayer experience and so on, to actually dive deep into it. But first, we need to just go through the basics. And I'll get into those exact reasons as to why I'm saying that in a moment. This game was probably the game that ruined a lot of multiplayer experiences for me. I loved playing OG Fortnite, PUBG, and even Warzone.
I can't fathom GTA 5 RP ruining a multiplayer, like your thought process on multiplayer games. So I have to hear this.
Eventually, but the game I came back to between the years of 2018 to 2021 was GTA Roleplay, and I would rather play that for such a long time that I would genuinely put it down to the definition of addiction. When games start to impede onto your actual life in a way that is taking away from your real life, then you start walking into territories of genuine addiction. This version of GTA for me was on another level of what I had experienced with the likes of Destiny, and I will go into that in a bit. However, 2 things did exist during that entire time. One of them I didn't mention, one of them I've mentioned a few times. Addiction, but I'm going to label it under obsession, and then also anger. This for me is a rather personal part of the hobby of games for me, and I think it would be helpful to talk about it so that others can either learn more, or you can just feel as if you're not the only one who does it. Destiny and GTA RP would connect a lot to one another. However, the whole time while playing all of these online games, anger was a big element which still exists today. The reason that it ends up creeping in pretty much every single game that I play is that I'll become relatively decent at it, and I start taking it way more seriously than I probably...
the skill factor. When you invest a lot of time into a hobby, it's understandable that you start to get emotionally connected to it. I mean, in all forms of emotion. I mean, you touched on anger. I mean, I think just like over the last like year or two, maybe probably even 3, I don't know, Like I have invested a lot of emotional stuff into like aim trainers, so like Kovacs, Aim Beast, and Aim Lab and whatnot. Um, but I don't know, like I'm older now, and I realize there's like a time and place for it, and I don't know. It's not like it's healthy or like I'll say like it's probably unhealthy to share your emotions in terms of like I don't know anger when it's someone that's like not consenting to it. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing like a multiplayer game and someone just like griefs you or some shit, like that person probably doesn't want to be like flamed or like just get like shit talked on or whatever. But that's like the knee jerk reaction that you want to do as someone that does like invested a lot of time into something. Um, I will say that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like this happens with like most things in life. Whenever you invest a lot of time and effort and skill development in a thing, yeah, you get like emotionally invested too.
Probably should, which then turns into more anger and rage inducing moments. And for me, when I was younger, I used to do.
But the whole like anger, rage inducing moments, that's only when you lose. You haven't even touched on like a lot of the cool things that happen whenever you like win a match or you get like a kill, you clutch up or get to the next level or like you just got promoted. There's all those emotions too.
Plenty of different activities, and when I say the likes of Xbox 360 took over my life and made me care way too much about games, I'd put that down to one of the big reasons why like it came across like I had actual anger issues, because when I was younger I would, you know, go do gymnastics, I'd go do karate, I'd go do
Nice.
all of these things, and then when I got an Xbox
Oh shit, you're like active too while you're doing it. Okay, that's cool.
360, I found myself just so obsessed with playing these different games that I guess I didn't have an outlet for all of that spare energy. So
So you didn't have an outlet. So you didn't do all that extra shit. Okay.
for anyone who does deal with any form of anger when they're playing games, go find something to do that
Yeah.
you can just sap a lot of that energy from every single week.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is something that I heavily connected to the online gaming world, and it's something that
You know, a lot of the times video games in all aspects are marketed towards kids and specifically, you know, kids that aren't good at physical sports. Um yes, like if you're like gifted like at a sport, you can still play like at like a decent level with I don't know. I don't know what I was getting at. Like the people that play video games are traditionally not thought of as being the peak of physical specimens in terms of like your traditional sense of like football, basketball, baseball, soccer, you know, not like physically gifted like that. It's more like reaction time, uh I don't know, precise movements with like either a controller or a mouse or whatever. Um so it's understandable for the video game audience to not have like an outlet for energy or whatever. But I will say, um, like just go to the gym. Like you don't need to be like gifted at a sport or whatever. I mean, it's nice to develop like an additional thing of like hand-eye coordination along like with whatever game you're playing. But I think at minimum you should be at least going to the gym if you're thinking about playing like games, like or at least like thinking about getting paid to play video games. Um, because I mean, it's only gonna help you. It's not there like meant it's not meant to hurt you, and plus it gives you a little bit of extra perspective on I don't know how hard your video game, I don't want to say addiction, but like endeavor goes. So like if you're like playing like a game or whatever and you're trying to problem solve this thing, like since I started going to the gym, I think it's easier to work out and problem solve when I've like gone to the gym like in the morning or something versus like on a day that I perhaps haven't gone to the gym or something like that. It's hard to describe. It's like a feeling, and it's hard to describe a feeling. going to the gym and then playing a game versus like just playing a game.
Ended up creating way more stress for me, and it meant that a hobby that should be relaxing me or at least allowing me to zone out was actually making me worse off. This is something that I've heard others talk about, from other YouTubers all the way through to comment sections, where people say about how they're going to end off playing multiplayer games because they're simply put too stressful. I found myself becoming more and more stressed.
It's only stressful because the people that say they're playing like multiplayer games, it's because they have chosen to make it their job, more likely in the form of like content creation of some sort, and they kind of associate them being good at the game with their self-worth. And then when they don't perform well in the game, their self-worth also goes down, when that shouldn't be the case. Bro, if you want to have like a lot of like self-worth, literally just start going to the gym. Afterwards, you're just gonna feel like you can do anything, because like you did like, I don't know, a hard cardio section, a hard I don't know, like resistance training, weightlifting session or whatever. Your self-worth just goes up. I mean, and it sounds like silly. It's like, oh, I need to get a lot of self-worth just from picking things up and putting them down that are really heavy. And it's like, I mean, yeah, but what other options do you have really that are so easily available? You just go to a gym, like 30-40 bucks a month. It's whatever. And you're probably more likely to go to the gym and like start working out and get healthy when the gym is like closer to you.
Over a hobby, like I said, that should relax me for the most part. I would play each day, getting more and more wound up, which led to me eventually quitting gaming altogether. But the first stage of that was quitting games.
I got lost in the sauce.
Specifically online games. Over time though, I did end up using a lot of games as an escape. When I was younger, it was in a way a safe space for me, where I would just be able to find myself just disconnected from life and have a little bit of a debrief whilst getting incredibly wound up when playing in a game of ranked CSGO.
Yep.
Skyrim is a massive example, even to this day, that I intend to mod up the game in preparation for anything drastic to happen, just so that I have something to go and disconnect to. The only games outside of Skyrim that have done this for me is the likes of the Assassin's Creed titles, and very recently Red Dead Redemption 2. It was the first game in ages that allowed me just to disconnect from everything.
I still haven't played RDR2.
And, let myself not have to think about every single type of stress and just enjoy the single player life. However, it did.
You know what that's called? That's called good immersion in a game. Good immersion.
Did end up leading to a form of single-player elitist beliefs, which is something that I also want to touch on. I believe we can all understand this, which is this idea that you start to back away from multiplayer games and you head towards either quitting or just diving into the stories you end up loving. It becomes a form of elitist thinking, especially in the world of games. And if I'm honest, I don't actually believe it's true. I love my single-player titles, and in terms of like how much value they give, absolutely insane. But nothing compares for me than those late-night sessions where you and your friends just get to chill out, have fun, and just chat about anything.
Wait, so what are you saying? What, multiplayer games offer higher highs and lower lows, but single player games offer like some sort of like maybe consistent sort of like medium to like medium highish sort of like dopamine hit in terms of just like what, enjoyment? I don't know, maybe. It just, I think it depends on the type of person you are. Really? I don't know. I'd have to think about it more.
The reason that we end up getting to this train of thought, however, is that it's in a way natural progression. I intend to talk about age very soon. But what I mean by natural progression is that in my life, not only was gaming causing a massive stressor to it, but it was also slowly changing due to my friends' interests in games changing.
Yeah.
And we were moving away from the games that we used to play when we were younger to the ones that we play now, and some just quit it altogether.
Well, yeah, a lot of my friends that I used to know in high school and subsequently, out in college and whatnot, the main reason I don't talk to them anymore, like I actually could, but I don't know. It's just like our video game choices like either change, or our just adult life is just taking up too much of our time in the day. And I don't know, I just don't think that I placed enough like, I don't know, value into like just keeping up with my friends, which is kind of shitty to say, but I mean it goes both ways. Like I think for like a couple years like we would like go on and off, or like, because well here's the thing. So like if I go and I just see my friend at Walmart, I'll be like, "Yo, what's up, man?" And like he'll just like reciprocate the same thing, like, "Yo, what up?" Like, "Oh, what are you doing?" It's like we're still pretty much into the same things. Um it's just the time and effort that are that we've put into like enjoying the hobby is just like so much different. And money has like something to do with that. Obviously if you're making more money, you have like more money to like enjoy a bunch of different types of games. Or maybe you're married and or you have a kid and you have a job. You have to dedicate time and effort into like taking care of those things, and then you won't have as much time and effort to put into like your personal time, which would have been video games or whatever. um I don't know, it's just like certain friends, um so yeah, like I said, like certain friends I will just randomly see and be like, it's like we didn't even uh it's like we didn't even miss a day. And then other friends, it'll be like, "Oh yeah, long time no see," or whatever. And then I don't know, they'll just say things like, "Oh yep, I'm just busy doing adult things, I'm busy like adulting, just busy being an adult and like paying my house insurance, paying the house mortgage, paying the car insurance, paying my car off, and paying health insurance and all this other shit that we didn't talk about." And like when we were younger, because it wasn't as much of an issue. I mean, and I would probably say when I'm like 40 or 50, it'll probably the conversation will turn towards, "Oh, my friends are just starting to become like I don't know, like maybe this is like bad to say. It's like maybe you start to talk about like just people like just dying near you, like your inner circle. Like you know how you have like your inner circle, like, and then the outer circle, and then the one outside, and then the one outside. It's like the older you get, the more people start dying, and it's like before it was like on the outermost circle, then it's like the inner, it goes to in a layer, then in another layer, and then it's like people closer and closer to you just like start dying, and then it's just like they're not even there anymore.
So everyone either moved away from the hobby or grew into other games. This led to a natural progression where you either exit out of the online gaming world entirely or you quit games entirely. Some of you might find some similarities in my own story to your own, so I want
Yeah, but I would say probably like a skill that I probably should invest more into is making friends. I think it is harder to make friends as an adult if you haven't kept up the skill of making new friends, either in real life or in like the online, like internet sense. Just because like most of the people like online are like tend to skew like a little bit younger. But I mean, I do think that like the average is going up the longer the internet is like just around or whatever. So I mean, I think it is going up, but still, like if a new cool game comes out, it's like how many 30-year-olds are probably going to be playing that game? Probably not a lot. It's probably going to be more like 18 and 20-year-olds.
wanted to dive in and discuss those specific details around the multiplayer titles that we all love. So now we're going to spend some time and talk about the decline of multiplayer games and why it's happening, how age plays a massive factor into our enjoyment, friend groups also do that, the gold mine which is single player content, but most importantly, how we can actually start to enjoy many of these games once again. So let's jump in to the feeling of decline. For us to truly understand what has caused the decline, we need to talk about the obvious, which is that plenty of people and plenty of kids out there are loving the games we aren't, which isn't necessarily meaning that we're incorrect or that they are, incorrect either.
Yeah.
We can still blame.
Yeah, just certain games are made and marketed towards certain audience age ranges, and you just have to deal with it as a consumer. Not every game is going to be made for you.
some parts of this down to the structure of modern day games and modern day multiplayer titles. However, one big factor is age, and that is something that I do want to focus on, as many people like to believe that age plays no part in it. It's something that is linked to that argument of natural progression. For starters, when a lot of us are playing pretty much any game out there, we know that we're putting something else off. The things we need to do, the friends we should text back, or the work that we should have got done a week ago.
Yeah.
Then you have all the other adults.
Yeah, like you just hit on it again. The friends that you should text back. I think that's this. I don't know. Like, just as you grow as an adult, it seems, at least from my own perspective, that I value having like when you were a little kid, you had like a group of friends that you knew, but then you had like your best friends, which would be like the best friends would be the ones where you would go over their house and they would come over to your house, and it would be like back and forth. Like maybe you didn't even fucking knock on your friend's house, and like if your friend just like came into your room or whatever, it'd be like, yo, what up, dude? You know, you would just do that type of thing where they would be so close. It's like, yo, just come on in. It don't matter. That's when like you're the best friend status. But like as an adult, you have less of those best friends anymore. And I don't know, it seems like it's a skill that just needs to be, I don't know, maintained, because if you don't use it, you lose it. It seems.
Adulting things that are on the side of that as well that you could have done, but you're here playing games. Maybe you've already done everything, you have zero reason to worry, but for some reason you still feel as if you're wasting time. This is something that I've heard many of you say in my prior videos about the state of modern games, and this is generally just an issue of adulting, and how it affects the way that we deal with the hobbies that we used to love way more, and how it affects the way that we play games. Another big part of it is that we're getting older. For me personally, I would love to play more games with my friends again, like we did.
But what does your age have to do with it? It seems. What, just because you're older, you're automatically worse at playing games because like, oh, reaction time go down the more you age. Bro, I did like the fucking human benchmark test yesterday, like a couple rounds, and I was getting scores anywhere from like 130 to like 200. All right, I'm in the fucking bell curve of like doing decent. All right, don't give me that, oh, your reaction time go down.
Did when we were younger, but I would be incredibly just a massive liar to myself if I said that I didn't prefer spending time with them in person. Whether it's going out for a walk, going to the gym, or getting a drink. Whatever it might be, it always just seems a little bit more enjoyable than what it does playing and talking in Discord. So not only does age play a massive role in the way that we and I find value in spending time with my friends, it also affects the amount of time that we can spend learning and getting better at games. Before we focus on the actual main substance of this part, I wanted to focus on the area of time sync, as I do believe for many of us out there, including myself, so obviously some of you may not be like this, but for many of us out there, we find games fun when we are at least competent at them. Maybe not right away, you may still find games of CSGO when it's your first few games enjoyable, but when you've played for let's say 2 weeks straight and you're on a massive losing streak, you're definitely not having a good time. This isn't something particularly uncommon. With rats, for example, they found that the rat
at least, so like one reason you play like a multiplayer game is because your friends are playing it, and the reason your friends are playing it is because they have already invested some amount of time and have some amount of competency in that game, and they're just like holding your hand as you try to gain that similar level of competency. And if you lose a match, it's like, okay, whatever. I am still like adapting and trying to gain skill and competency in that game. And you know, if you got like good friends, they can like point out what you did wrong or whatever here and there, and it's like, okay, cool. I have this like problem solving like solution cycle that I have like a decent community of like friends to like help me get better at the game, because like they're playing, I like to play, they're helping me get better, and it's all good. But whenever you don't have any of that with your favorite multiplayer game, it's kind of harder to, I don't know, gain competency in a game unless you're like you just really like are a diehard of that game, and you do things like VOD review, or like you look back and you watch your own gameplay and try to figure out what you did to it was so bad, or how you lost, or anything like that. Like, I don't think I have ever done like VOD reviews of any of the games that I played, even multiplayer games, because I was just like, when you're starting to like do VOD reviews, like, it's like an actual fact. Whenever you like VOD review yourself of of any multiplayer game, you will gain an understanding of the game way quicker than if you were to just barrel through like tons and tons of matches. But nobody wants to do that VOD review thing. They just want to like chill out and enjoy the game with their buddies.
Rat that's constantly losing won't engage in the state of play, whereas the rat that is constantly winning, if it lets the other one win from time to time, they will be able to play for a lot longer. It's a win-win for both sides, and it means that both rats continue to be able to play, and the losing rat at least feels like it has a chance every now and again. The same can be said for gamers. It's something that is linked heavily to the likes of gambling and social media, games and whatnot, all utilize the same practice, which is this idea that if you're losing constantly, let's say you lose 19 games in a row, or within gambling you lose 19 times, you've lost a ton of money or time. But that 20th time, you end up winning some money, or you end up winning that game, and now you feel like you're on a comeback, and now you will end up diving back into it. In games, we definitely see this with a good amount of the games that make us feel like, you know, we need to become as good as we can so that we can get that dopamine hit of winning each time. When we were younger, we would spend hours upon hours playing games. Most likely, you weren't actually that amazing, but you were good.
No, whenever I played COD and Halo, my KD would be somewhere between 0.7 to like 1.2 or some shit like that. I was extremely just average at the game. But every now and again, I would have like a pop-off game. And, you know, I'd call down the, the Harrier, go into the chopper gunner, and then hit the nuke. That would happen like randomly, but it was super rare.
Enough that you could enjoy it. And then when you were entering into your like later teenage years and heading towards 18, you end up finding yourself wanting to be better than the average player. And you end up probably becoming way better than the average player. And this is because you have way more time on your hands, and it means that you can dominate in every single moment of the game. I wouldn't be surprised if something along the lines of this was what also played a big factor into it, is that when you're younger, when you're being completely, you know, destroyed by other players, you can use the excuse of, we're kids, of course the adults are completely destroying us. Whereas when you are an adult, you can't really use that excuse anymore.
No, you can't. What you tend to say is, oh, they're kids, they have nothing but time to get good at the game, and they just have super fast reaction times, and yeah, that's it. That's what they say.
And it starts to feel a bit worse on you if they're completely destroying you. This is something that's definitely changed a lot of the way that people view games, and we're going to talk about this idea of now versus then, and more in particular as well, how kids are becoming way more competitive.
Oh yeah, using the classic Warzone clip of some dude just slide canceling and like jumping and mantling really quickly, and there might be a dude in this door or that door, and he'll probably like drop shot him once he goes through.
At multiplayer games. This brings us to the idea of now versus then. One of the biggest arguments you're going to hear about why online gaming has changed is that everyone just takes it too seriously now, and that everyone views an online game as competitive, and I'm inclined to agree for the most part.
Yeah,
again,
I mean, it depends on what type of multiplayer game you're talking about. I had this one really good comment. Like, if you played Halo 1 through 3 back in the day, those games were made to be competitive games, just from a core visionary standpoint. Halo 1, 2, and 3 were just competitive from the beginning. And the entire series of Halo, you know, with all the subsequent games, have been a slow casualization of Halo, just getting more and more casual. And that's one of the reasons of Halo's downfall. Now, I played Halo 1, 2, and 3, and I tend to agree that, you know, at least within the genre of like FPS and just shooters, FPSs are just inherently competitive. Yes, you can have like a fun little game modes in them, like you know, like Halo had like Griffball and like that little four-wheeler like cart. They had Forge. You could make up game modes, things like zombies or infected or whatever. You can have fun game modes within those, but the core gameplay loops of most shooters were just competitive in nature. It's hard to casualize like a shooting game and I don't know, have it appeal to a massive audience. I think if you want to enjoy like a casual experience, you should probably look to like a different genre if you want to like just chill out and turn your brain off, because nobody has ever came home from working their 9 to 5 job. They have their wife, they have their kids, and they want to go in, turn their brain off, and drop like a 20 bomb in Apex. All right, that's literally never happened. If you want to like get good at like an FPS game, like you have to put forth mental effort. And I mean, yeah, I mean that's just my 2 cents or whatever, but that is probably not the popular opinion. That's probably the minority opinion, honestly. Um, and that's just like the FPS genre. There are like a lot of other multiplayer games where they're just not competitive, but um, it's not as I don't know, try hardy as like FPS. I mean, even within what do you call it, like League of Legends or Rocket League or what else? There's like a ton. I'm just getting flustered right at the moment. Like there's all these other multiplayer games, like even MMOs or fighting games. You can have like a casual, fun experience within all these other types of games, and just like enjoy yourself. Or if you don't even want to like have a competitive experience, just don't play like the rank ladder mode of your favorite multiplayer game.
Could be biased. When I think about the older people that I used to play against when I was far younger, obviously there was a seriousness to it. However, everything just seemed like having good fun. But now everything seems like every single person wants to be as good as possible so they can either go pro or become some content creator,
Yeah.
or simply put, they can get in.
And a lot of the times, when you say the word like multiplayer competitive experience, not a lot of people think in terms of they think in terms of like you versus somebody else, because that's like traditionally like what traditional sports are. But in a certain way, it it's you versus yourself, you being better than your past self in terms of like a multiplayer game. Like you just literally just have to perform better, and not a lot of people think like that. And if they like, get killed, it's like the other guy's fault, or it's everybody else's fault. It's like I have shitty internet, I got bad peripherals, it's this, it's that, this game's bad, it's whatever. It's they look everywhere else for an excuse to why they perform bad, besides looking at themselves first.
An epic clip to show their friends and prove that they're better than them. This is the sort of issue that people have had in the modern space, specifically around online games. You just wanted to jump into a game of Fortnite with your friends, have some fun, but you find yourself getting killed within just a few minutes against a load of 15-year-olds who have spent 8 hours every single day playing this game. Obviously, because I'm absolutely amazing at games, this doesn't happen to me very rarely. That's
Surely.
just the truth, okay? This is definitely just a load of cope though, as I've noticed that this has become worse and worse over the years. With my only theory around the idea of how men in particular find validation from being good at something. When you're one of the best players in the lobby, not only do you get massively high praises from your friends, but also the random people that are in your lobby. And when it comes to real life, especially when you're a lot younger, most guys don't have typically many other ways of measuring success outside of some form of sports or competition sort of thing. So that's where gaming would come in, or just general social status. Even though
that's
this may
pretty
sound
true.
kind of stupid, but I do genuinely believe, due to the way that many boys, especially when you're a lot younger.
I mean, when I was younger, it was school, like just be good at school, and then be good at your job. Be good, because I was in martial arts. Be good at taekwondo. What else? Be good at working out, like look fit or whatever, because I did like work out a little bit alongside of taekwondo. Have good social skills. Be good at socializing. That's another skill. Like there's a ton of skills that you can have. Um, yeah.
View yourself as being impressive does play a massive role into the way that kids view games and how they view being good at a game, even if it's a subconscious thing. But then again, that's just a theory.
A game theory.
GG, Matt Pat, for your retirement. It's going to be sad seeing you no longer uploading. But yeah, in general, when it comes to the actual world of gaming and online gaming, I do believe that we've seen this hyper competition-esque style grow over the years that when I was younger never really felt like it was there to the degree that it is at now. So with
One reason is because everything that people do is more visualized and seen. Like information nowadays is way more easily available than it was back in the day. People are way more connected now than they ever were in the past, like 30, 40 years that video games have been around. When I was playing video games when I was young, I didn't really like look online for like tips, tricks, and what's the best meta build, what's the best meta this, that. God, like when I wanted to look at like the guides and shit, I would be looking at those Prima like strategy guides and shit they used to be at like Walmart and shit and like EB. That's where I would look for like guides, tips, and tricks and whatnot.
games becoming more competitive, the seriousness of them starts to kick in. Competitive gaming has been a thing for years now. However, the amount of people who want to be good at them, especially when they were younger because they want to only play games for a living, is the underlying reason, in my opinion, as to why this has changed, especially in the landscape of the online world. When we live in a world where if you go absolutely beast mode in a game, you can find yourself on the top of a subreddit, or you can get a load of love from strangers online on YouTube or TikTok, it can make you feel as if you are one of like the highest status players ever alive.
Oh yeah.
Streamers, creators, and the overall chain.
Think about it in terms of like in a vacuum, and you compare like video games to like real sports. Like from when you start playing sports as like a little kid versus when you start to play, maybe in like middle school, high school, college, and then maybe you get drafted into like the professional league of your favorite sport. There's no real, or at least there used to be no real way to showcase your growth and development as like just a player. I mean, you can now because you have like social media. You can show like your growth and development in the sport by like doing highlights, montages, and like training videos and whatnot to like you can build like some sort of like online presence to like kind of sell yourself to like, oh, if you hire me on for the team, you get all of this, and this. I have all these stats. This is what my dedication, and so on and so forth. It didn't used to be there in the past, but now it is for like real sports. But here comes video games, and it's just way more easy to showcase your skill and development in a video game to, I don't know, maybe like the professional league of your favorite video game than it is real sports. It just, I don't know. I think, I don't know where the fuck I was going with this. I had like a big point, but god dang it, it'll come back to me.
In one area in particular has caused the online gaming space to become hyper competitive in a way that makes it incredibly dull to play when you start your adult life, as you don't have every waking minute anymore to spend playing games. Now this isn't me actually trash talking.
And traditionally, the best players at a video game will be the ones that play the game the most.
Kids, because I think a lot of people view that kind of as, trash talking kids. Honestly, as long as you're doing well in like every other aspect of life, you're doing well socially, you're doing well in school, you're doing well just generally in your fitness, everything like that. Honestly, the free time you have, go ahead, play games. I would much rather my kids be playing games in their spare time than doing plenty of other things that I'm very aware of that some of my friends used to do. The other reason that I didn't mention is that games have become...
Yeah, I mean, it's even worse if you live in like a shitty part of the neighborhood, Your kid could be out like selling drugs, like being around other people that sell drugs, or like interacting with people that drink alcohol and whatnot, or have weapons and shit like that. You know, you don't want your kid to just be around that, but I don't know, being like another aspect of I don't know, of life, it seems is to be like somewhat of like a decent educator. I mean, especially if you have kids because I don't know, you need to show your kids how to essentially just not be an asshole like online. I mean, I don't have kids or anything, but I don't know, like some like I haven't really played like a lot of multiplayer games like in like the recent past because like actually the few times I have the like I've never really heard a lot of people's voices within like the last year or so. Anytime I played like a multiplayer game, if the game does have some sort of like in-game like mic feature, most of the microphones are just turned off. To be honest, it's really weird. There will be like what you see, or at least what I see more is like if you're playing like a shooting game, you are more likely to interact with someone and communicate via like some sort of ping system, which is kind of weird because it's like saying that, oh, you're a shitty communicator with your voice. Let me just incorporate a system into the game where you don't even have to talk, you just ping. And that's kind of hilarious as like a little retrospective thing. You're more likely to talk to someone through pings than you are with your real voice.
Better than ever at keeping people engaged to play. Even though games were definitely very addictive for the young mind that I was growing up, we didn't have the likes of Fortnite where you have the tons of bright flashy colours that are all over your display that definitely leaves some form of an imprint on a child's mind. So not only is the world of gaming becoming more hyper competitive, the fact that they're getting more and more better at hooking people, especially kids, to keep playing, gives us the end result of a lot of kids becoming outrageously good at games. In a way, these sorts of things.
And yeah, there's nothing wrong with being good at a game. Like especially at like a young age, there's nothing wrong with it. The hard part is uh, trying to like figure out what to do with it. Um, I mean, you could take it like just as is, and it's like, okay, I'm just good at a game, and like maybe a couple years go by, and you're like, okay, I don't want to do anything with it, so you just let it pass. Or if you decide to do something with it, you know, either become like a content creator, influencer person, or try to go professional in your favorite game. I mean, there's in a vacuum, there's nothing that you have to do with it. Like you can just be good at it and let it pass. You can, you know, like I said, do the influencer thing or do the content creator thing. Try to go pro. Try to do all of them. Try to do none of them. There's no real like right or wrong path.
Plus the fact that self-improvement, especially like young guys self-improvement, targets young people playing games as an awful thing to be doing, is the reason why I think a lot of 16 to 20-year-olds have either started to quit games outright or try and bash them entirely. Obviously, I know that games aren't just a male-only environment, but it is from my experience, so I can't really give you the point of view from, you know, a female perspective.
Yeah, because traditionally, when you have like a young boy and you have like a young girl, well, what kind of toys are you getting for your young boy? You're getting them like action figures, Pokemon cards, and video games. Maybe you enroll them in like a sport or something. Try to figure out what their friends are doing. Try to get them into like doing what their friends are doing. And then when you have a girl, what do you have your girl doing? Or what types of toys are you buying your little girl? I mean, you go down like the toy section in Walmart or whatever, and you look around, and it's like there's Barbie dolls, there's dolls, there's like house things, there's like bikes and stuff like that. Like I never really see a lot of video games being catered towards young girls. It's just a thing that I've observed. I mean, yes, there are some that are out there, but for the most part, it's video games are a hobby that have been just marketed towards young boys.
People who are interested in actually learning about this sort of thing, then I'd highly recommend going and learning more about the male sedation hypothesis from Chris Williamson. It's a great place to start. He kind of created this idea overall around it, and they're actually doing research now to see if it holds any weight. So again, like I said, all of it is a pinch of salt, and it's just an idea. Who knows when the actual research gets complete of what the answers are. But for us to really talk about the online world of games, we have to focus on one game in particular, which is Fortnite. I could easily sit here and reminisce over seasons 1 to 4 of Fortnite. However, I'm not going to do that. What I want to talk about is what this game
cultural
cemented
impact
and what PUBG started. This is the way that multiplayer games and fun around them is getting viewed by a wider
Bro, what is that recoil? Oh my god.
audience. Before we jump into the exact bit, I have something to tell you, which is that I just lied to you. I do want to sit and reminisce on seasons 1 to 4 of Fortnite, just to explain why people love it so much and why I think it does actually play a role into this idea. Which I do believe was that when this game came out, it was the perfect mix of new content and everyone being so bad at a game that it was fun. In 2017, I don't know how well
I still have never played Fortnite to this day.
would say multiplayer games were doing up until the releases of.
But I was there when Ninja was popping off at like over 100,000 subs. I was there. I remember.
PUBG and Fortnite, it kind of felt like there was a little bit of a plateau in the ability that these games had to create anything new. Call of Duty was starting to feel a bit too, ultra competitive in every single match, and there wasn't really much change. And then Fortnite came along and took over the space entirely. It felt like something completely new, and it created this different feeling of fun, and it ended up creating this one specific experience that many people haven't experienced since they were a kid, which was the lack of seriousness. But before we explain that, we have the release of PUBG.
There was a lack of seriousness because of the art style of Fortnite. It was like cartoony, and everyone in general was just bad at building. That's why it wasn't so serious.
That took over everything and became one of the biggest games on the planet for a small period of time.
Yeah.
It then led into Fortnite, which became the game. Not just a game to play, but the game to play. We used to have tons of options like Halo, COD, CSGO, Rainbow Six, and plenty others out there. And then it became only one, which was Fortnite. Not because we didn't still have those choices of games to play, but because everyone was playing it. This is a part of a hype cycle.
Yeah, you weren't cool unless you were playing Fortnite.
Which is something that is
You were a minority if you were playing anything but Fortnite.
Heavily underestimated. I mentioned in a prior video that as much as I am pro waiting for reviews of a game before you decide to purchase it, I am also massively aware of how much people do love that feeling of being a part of a community and hype cycle, and Fortnite capitalized on it massively. It changed us from being hyped for a new release to what can actually beat Fortnite, which didn't actually happen for a long time. We saw the likes of Apex try and make its rise up, but it didn't make enough of a dent to really go up against the game. We saw GTA roll.
Yeah, I mean, Apex tried. It's not like terrible. It's like decent right now.
Play make a massive rise, and it was great fun.
I think one of the main things that Apex has going for it is its competitive scene and how much money they dump into the tournament, like the ALGS series. I mean, I don't know how much money they dumped into the last Fortnite tournament, like what the tournament prize winnings were. As long as it was like somewhere between like 1 and 5 million, I mean, it was probably fine.
Especially having loads of people to talk to and play with who got involved. But again, it didn't stay afloat long enough to make an actual dent. The only game that has truly given Fortnite a run for its money was Warzone. It was released at the perfect time. It was a game that nobody could have predicted that Activision would have dropped the most fun battle royale right at the beginning of a worldwide pandemic. The dominance of Warzone stayed for a time. However, it didn't have the long-term impact that it could have had due to neglect. But there was one last game that definitely gave Fortnite a run for its money, which was Among Us, which was the last game to truly leave.
Like, I watched a little bit of Among Us, but I never played it. I was like, I don't got fucking 7, 8 other friends to play this shit with. I'll just watch all the fucking streamer bros fucking play that shit and just be entertained by that.
Any form of an impact. Among Us is still doing decent numbers, especially in some circles online. However, it did fail again in really keeping Fortnite competitive. Obviously, they're completely different fields of games. With the lack of progression within Among Us, as in the lack of updates that actually made a meaningful impact to the game, and people walked away from it. So we end up stuck with the same massive game for a long time.
Yeah.
It may not be on the same level of popularity as it was when it first released. However, one thing is for sure with that game, which is that Fortnite proved that as long as you keep updating and you keep adding to your game to make something a new experience on a weekly basis in particular, then people will keep playing. Instead of the Warzone approach, which didn't actually listen to its player base until it was too late. It ended up not sorting out the hacker situation for an incredibly long time. And
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Among Us failed, sadly, due to its repetitious nature. All of these games are, in a way, the big games that we needed to play as everyone was jumping on and having fun. However, due to the lack of impact that other games were able to have, it meant that no other game has ever really felt the same as we had with the release of Fortnite. Hype is definitely a massive issue for online gaming, however it's also one of the biggest benefits. It allows people to feel amazing and as if they are a part of a community, but when it fades and nothing takes its place, one area of gaming is still available to play, doesn't require any hype and other players to enjoy. Which now brings me to the goldmine of single player games.
Here we go.
With multiplayer games,
Single player games. They're there forever.
you have a few reasons why people are willing to quit them. As I've mentioned before, it'll be one of the following: either wanting to have less stress in your life, friends choosing to quit games you liked playing, or because you just don't want to play games anymore, as you find them too time consuming. This will lead you to either playing multiplayer games that you don't enjoy, quitting games altogether, or going down the single player only game route. If you're like me, you probably found yourself in that final category, which is by far the most stacked up area of gaming. Not only do you get the games from last year, you also get the games from the previous decades.
Yeah.
With online games, you have to deal with the fact that if the game doesn't have an actual active player base and the hype doesn't exist, then the game is no longer able to thrive.
True.
However, to enjoy a single player game, you don't need either. You just need a good game, or at least one that you enjoy. I wanted to spend some time talking about the single.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know, like whenever I'm trying to look for like a good single player game to play, I am just in the mood of I just want to turn my brain off and just get immersed in a story, and that's it. That's literally it.
Single player goldmine games that I've played over the years that have made me fall deeper and deeper in love with single player titles, but ultimately made me realize that as much as I do love them, they are missing something. The first true single player game to leave a massive impact on me was Skyrim. I loved playing loads of games prior to this, but Skyrim for me was the first time that I actually sunk my teeth into a game that I would genuinely say is a goldmine in itself.
Nice.
You have the wonderful...
Yeah, like before I played Skyrim, I played Oblivion, and I think that game did it for me to like make me a fan of playing Oblivion on original Xbox 360. Yeah, when Skyrim released, I really honestly think I was like the first person in the world. This is like a whatever side tangent. I honestly think I was like the first person in the world to like legit get like 100 fucking stealth, because whenever you were going to play in what do you call it, in Skyrim, and like you start out, how'd you start out? You go through that little cutscene of like wake up, and then you're on the cart, and then you gotta like dodge a dragon, and then you go into the cave, and then in the cave there's like a bear that's sleeping, but there's like a bunch of stalactites around the bear, and to level up your stealth, all you had to do was just crouch and walk in a circle perfectly, and then your stealth would just go up. So I jerry-rigged like my controller and like tied up a bunch of strings and like held it down to like hold the sticks like perfectly at like one was like forward, like just perfect, and then the other one was like to the side perfectly, so I would spin in a circle, and I would just walk away for like a couple hours and then just come back, and I'd be like, oh, stealth is 100, and it's like it's only been like what 4 or 5 hours. Granted, this is when Skyrim, this was back in the day when games also like there was like that midnight release for games over at like EB Games / GameStop. So I think whenever I got done with like leveling it up to like 100, Like I remember like putting everything in place and then going like to my living room and like watching like a movie or some shit because I think it was the weekend and I forgot what I was watching. I was probably watching like Star Wars or some shit or Lord of the Rings, and I'd watch like one or two movies and then come back and like constantly be checking on it, be like, is it done yet? Is it done yet? So then I'd come back and it'd be like stealth 100. I'm like, fucking sweet. And then I'd have like the starter fucking sword or whatever, and then I'd just like stealth up behind the bear and just like bop him right in the back and be like damn near one shot him and be like, okay, now I can start playing the game. um, yeah, Skyrim was like really fun for me, dude.
World to explore, amazing side quests, plenty of lore. However, if you ever get bored of the game, you can dive into the world of mods, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm, for the first proper time in over a decade of playing this game, diving truly into the world of mods. I love this game so much, especially because it allowed me to add to the game that was already amazing.
Nice.
If you wanted to just jump into amazing games that have come out over the last year, you've got plenty of titles, from Jedi Survivor and Hogwarts Legacy to the likes of Baldur's Gate 3 and Spider-Man 2. All of these games and plenty more were added to the content pool of single-player titles in just 1 year. Let alone the fact that over time they go down in price and never really require a player base to keep them alive. All of them thrive on two particular things: people's acknowledgement about how amazing they are, but also the disconnect from needing to be online all the time.
Yep.
Another game that runs laps on pretty much every single multiplayer game out there is Red Dead Redemption 2. This game allows you to get
I heard nothing but good things about RDR2. I really need to get around to playing it. But unfortunately, it'll probably have to be after Dragon's Dogma 2.
immersed into a time setting that you don't really see much of today. We get to see an amazing, emotionally wrenching story that connects us to one of the best written characters in the whole of gaming. And you'll find yourself being able to replay this game so many times. I've now replayed this game twice, and I've still hardly scratched the surface on the amount of content that is in this game. Animal Crossing New Horizons, though, is one that absolutely does a great job in blending both multiplayer and single player. It allows you to jump across to other worlds, however, the main focus is on your single player enjoyment of making the world that you want. It's a simple yet...
You know another game that I think does like single and multiplayer really well, like blends them? Monster Hunter World. You can completely play that game solo and be 100% fine. Or if you need help, you can just fire off an SOS and hopefully someone will like come in and just help you get the quest done. I think that game is awesome.
Addictive gameplay loop. It's one of the most relaxing games you can play, yet it still allows you to feel connected to others and have some sense of urgency in what you're doing. Even Minecraft's single player is amazing to this day. But on screen now, I'm going to just show you a load of different games that you could play that are within the world of single player's content pool that are absolutely amazing, and it's the reason we find ourselves ditching multiplayer titles and why it's so easy to get embedded into the world of single player elitism. But even with all of those amazing games and the fact that we can enjoy them so much, there is always something missing. Something about my gaming experience always feels disconnected when I'm playing by myself. And one of the best ways of explaining this is that I've never really felt like gaming was meant to be a solo endeavor. What I mean by this is that when I was growing up, I spent a lot of time playing by myself. However, the games that I was playing, even single player, I would do with others. Whether it was us sat in an Xbox party chat whilst we were both playing Skyrim, or when my sister was playing something like Metal Gear Sons of Liberty, and then we would take turns. It always felt as if there was a level of connection that even in those single player moments, let's say like Halo's campaign, me and my friend would sit there on the couch playing it split screen.
I will say it is more fun even playing a single player game when you have just like people around you that are also like just want to like enjoy the game. It is like a different experience, because I kind of had this with, what was it, like one of the Assassin's Creeds, the one where you're like the Indian dude and you're like fighting off all the colonial dudes. Like when that game dropped on like the midnight release, me and my buddies for like the first like 6 hours, we all had the game, and we were just like, oh, I'm at this part, oh, I'm at that part, oh, I'm at this part, oh, that's so cool, oh, this is so cool. That was a cool little experience that that I will remember. Like just being in the same like Xbox party and just bullshitting about fucking Assassin's Creed.
Single player titles are amazing, but even those games feel even better when you feel as if you're a part of a community of people who get to share your experiences of those games with one another, whether it's through the likes of YouTube, through forums, through chats with your friends. For example, I absolutely adore Skyrim, and it's one of my favourite games, but my best memory I have of this game is the amount of times me and my friend would spend walking up the hill to school just talking about the lore, the world, our adventures within it. It allows us to connect to something that we can both experience in our own way, but are able to connect to it due to our sheer love of the game. When I was disconnecting from multiplayer games, I was disconnecting from those communities. I was disconnecting from the friends who enjoyed playing those games.
Bro, I remember in what was it? I think it was like high school. I remember being in art class and just talking to my friends all the time about World of Warcraft. It was so cool. Like, oh, what are you doing for this build? Like whenever like we were talking about like PvP, like how much crit strike chance do you get? How much crit strike damage are you supposed to get? What do you do when someone does this? And like we're just all like bullshitting because we all played like different classes and whatnot. It was the coolest thing to like just go into art class and like just like do like paint and draw like World of Warcraft shit and just talk about it like all the time. And I don't know, that was like just another instance really.
But for the most part, sadly, I was disconnecting from what was truly my enjoyment of gaming. And with that meant that I was missing the biggest element, which is meant to be the sense of community around a game and the feeling of just playing with others. When you decide to accept that gaming isn't actually like a way of life, I feel like a lot of people have this misconception that gaming is just a part of your life, but it is a hobby. It is a hobby primarily. That is the whole idea of it. Yes, you get all of these amazing things, but I feel like there's this weird disconnect that a lot of people have towards games. That it's just, oh, it's a part of my lifestyle instead of it's a hobby that I have. And a big part of hobbies is the shared experiences, is the communities you get around them. Whether you're getting into kickboxing, you're getting into golf, tennis, going to the gym, reading, watching movies, doing photography, whatever it might be, all of those experiences are at their peak when they are done with others.
Yeah.
And gaming is no different. So let's talk about how we can actually enjoy multiplayer games once again.
Oh shit.
Community is at the heart of human life. I know this video is about video games, but community is a big part of gaming. And when your community starts to disconnect from playing the games you love or playing in general, you probably will too. You'll either die a hero who will stop playing when your friends do, or you'll live long enough to see yourself become the villain. The villain is the person who is basically the living embodiment and the epitome of this meme. The one who doesn't enjoy the game, but simply sits and plays.
He just keeps
it's not
playing.
that you aren't as good at playing Rainbow Six, but it's because the people you used to play with made you enjoy the overall experience far more than you would have otherwise. If you want to find some people to play with, come join the Discord down below, as hopefully someone will be playing the same sort of game as you as well. I can't guarantee you that you'll find people who are identical or give you the same feeling as the people that you used to play with when you were younger, but you can at least have a moment where you start finding people who play different types of games and even play the games that you enjoy that you can jump into and get lost within. The game is important, but we need to accept that the reason online gaming isn't fun is because of us, not because of the games themselves. Yes, things have changed and we can make complaints around those areas. However, the reason you don't enjoy the online...
Yeah, I will say a bad game can be made fun as long as you're doing it with friends, or at least like people that are also willing to just go through the game with you. I mean, that's why the phrase like fun with friends but not so good by yourself exists. Yeah, like a bad game can 100% be made fun as long as you're like just doing it with people that you know.
Games we play now is because we will always be comparing them to the times that we absolutely loved playing with our friends on whatever game it might have been. For me, those games were Halo 3, Minecraft, Call of Duty, GTA Online, and much more. Find a good fire team to play with if you want to jump in and play Destiny. Don't just sit in a lonely solo queue where you're not going to truly get the experience that you are after. I wanted to end off this video on somewhat of a good note. I agree that a lot of the criticisms that can be levied towards the online world of multiplayer games is valid. However, I do also believe a lot of people overlook the key reason that we were finding them enjoyable in the first place. So if you're going to take anything away from this video, just send a message to your friend and see if they want to jump on Discord or on a party chat.
That's
or just
fair.
invite random people that you enjoy playing with when you're playing in a lobby of CSGO. And the true way to start enjoying multiplayer games again is to find people you enjoy playing with. Stop playing with the people that you don't like who just drain you all day. Single player games are amazing, but so is playing with the boys. With that all being said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it's slightly different in terms of the general vibe of the video, but I wanted to talk about this topic as I do find a lot of people blaming online games and how they are now, mainly due to, you know, the issues around monetization and gameplay loops and all these different bits and gunplay and all this and how kids are so much better. But in reality, I do think a lot of it comes down to our actual experience, more particularly around our experience when playing with the people that we want to be playing with. If you want to see some behind the scenes when it comes to how I made this video and everything from my script writing process through to the end result that you're seeing right now, make sure to check out the Patreon, as you can get access to all of that for a small fee every single month with the Exiled Ones tier. And if you do want to get any access to things like the music I use, sound effects and whatnot that I use within my videos, then make sure to check out my Epidemic Sound link down below. And with that all being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.
Dang. That's a good ass video, dude. Man. Yeah. I mean, you pretty much nailed it on the head, dude, with a lot of your points. Multiplayer games don't necessarily suck. I mean, even bad games can be good as long as you're doing it with people that you like are just friends with. So, I mean, yeah, that was a really good video. I really enjoyed it. You put a lot of work and effort into it. It was awesome. And I can't wait to see more. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I got nothing else. But until the next one, guys, take care. See ya.